What is going on, YouTube? My name is Lucas. Today I'm going to discuss an investor, and that investor is going to be the Oracle of Omaha. And the reason I'm going to discuss him is because I think his strategy is very important, especially with how wealthy he's become on his strategy. So if you're interested in finding out about Warren Buffett, I suggest you stay tuned right after this. Warren Buffett, he is considered to be the greatest investor of all time, like I said earlier. And the reason is because he's really developed a keen strategy. And I'm definitely going to go over that strategy here later in this video. But to give you a little bit of background, he definitely resides out of Omaha, Nebraska, and he is currently the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah, and if you're interested, you should look up to see what Class A Berkshire Hathaway is going for. It's about as much as a house. Warren Buffett's investing style comes from a gentleman named Benjamin Graham. And recently on Twitter, I posted his book, which you'll see right here, titled The Intelligent Investor. And I think this is a very important book to read, and I'll attach that link down in the description. And the reason I think that this is very important is because not only are we seeing where Warren Buffett's investing style comes from, but we're seeing how the long-term investing game really developed, especially with Benjamin Graham being one of the very first to have this style. So what is Buffett's style? And what does he really evaluate before he invests his money into the company? Well, number one on that list is he's going to be a very, very long-term investor. He's going to make sure that before he puts his money into your company, that it is a well-established, well-developed, but growing company. And the thing is he wants to make sure that his money is going to get a decent return. But it's going to be a long-term play. That's for sure. He's getting ready to invest into a company. He looks at three things. That's going to be strategy, value, and principles. And I would say with those things, he's been pretty spot on when it comes to investing. Let's say we're Warren Buffett right now. That would feel pretty good. That's a lot of money. But from his investing style, he looks at three key things, especially from an investing standpoint. Number one on that is going to be strong earnings, which leads into the next thing, and that is going to be potential growth. Those two go hand in hand. If they're constantly having great earnings, that means that they're going to continue to grow as a company, which then leads to the next thing, and that's going to be they pay a dividend. And I did a video on dividends versus growth stocks, and I think if you need to figure out what a dividend is, you should pay attention to this video right here. Link will be down in the description. Details on how Warren Buffett really evaluates a company as a whole. And I think this is extremely important to understand, and we can use this in our investing style in the long term. So how does Warren Buffett really evaluate the company as a whole? Well, I'm here to tell you. He chooses stocks based on their overall potential, not just a flash in the pan. He is not in the company for capital gains, but he is seeking ownership in the company. Buffett looks at how well the company does within the same industry or sector. This is often the return on equity, or ROE. ROE shows the rate at which investors earn income on their shares invested. Another key statistic that Buffett looks at is the company's debt to equity ratio. The least amount of debt is important because it shows that the investor's equity is being capitalized on. Another key in his investing style is profit margins, and personally I think this is the most important for a long-term play. This goes hand in hand with the dividend. If the company is profitable and continuously displays a profitability, they will be having good earnings and growing a dividend. What to understand about Warren Buffett is that he is not a very fancy man. And what I mean by that is that he doesn't go out and buy big mansions. He's not driving fancy cars. And he most definitely isn't wearing elaborate jewelry. He's a very simplistic, very simple man, and is very wealthy, and has built a great foundation for anyone that wants to get into investing. So I'm going to touch on the top 5 holdings of Berkshire Hathaway / Warren Buffett. And so I'm going to peek over here because I'm going to give you the exact companies and the exact numbers to these companies. So Number 1 on that list is going to be Apple. And mind you, when I talk about the size, it's going to be in the billions. So he's not making like Lucas type investments where he's buying a couple shares here and there in the $100 mark. No, when he makes investments, we're talking billions and billions of dollars, and it's like weighted in the company. Yeah, so back over here. So his size of holding is $73.7 billion in Apple. Percent of the company owned is 5.7%. Number 2 on that list is Bank of America, and that size of holding is going to be $33.4 billion. That's going to be a 10.7% stake which he owns. Number 3 on that list is Coca-Cola, and I think this is very ironic because if you know anything about Warren Buffett, he's constantly drinking cherry Coke, and so I'm kind of wondering if that's his emotional connection there. But his size of holding is for Coca-Cola is going to be $22.1 billion, and that's going to be 9.3% owned in the company. And number 4 on that list is going to be American Express, at which he has $18.9 billion, and that is an 18.7% stake in the company. And his final big-time company is going to be Wells Fargo, at which he has $18.6 billion, and that's at a 8.4% stake. So if you notice, 3 of those companies have to do with financials, and it makes sense in his investing style. There's continued growth there. There's always some type of money coming in, and there's an ever-growing growth rate with these companies. The final thing I'm going to touch on is when Warren Buffett makes a move, whether it's a big-time purchase or it's a big-time sell-off, he impacts the market. I mean, that should tell you right there how important he is to investing and how big of a player he is in the stock market. I mean, when a guy like that is making moves and it impacts a sector for the most part, and that's huge. And a perfect example was the other day, he moved airlines. That sector as a whole decided to drop off. Yes, there's obviously some backing behind that. You know, we had the coronavirus, their quarterly earnings are coming out. We're seeing that they're losing billions of dollars a day. There's a lot going into the airlines. But when Warren Buffett made a move to sell off, it just like it jumped down a stairwell. I have 100% adopted Warren Buffett's investing style, and it's obvious in my 401k. I've invested in the entire Dow 30, and I've touched on this in many videos before, and the reason I've done that is because each one of these companies has a very solid foundation. They're continuously growing, and they all pay dividends. Whether they are halted by the coronavirus or not, they still at some point pay a dividend, and that was important for me. All those dividends are reinvested back into my 401k, and it's continuously growing all the time. For new investors, I do think it's very important to understand different styles of investing. And I do think as a new investor, it is very important to understand Warren Buffett's style and where it came from. And I do think it would be very important for any new investor to read the book by Benjamin Graham, like I stated earlier. And once again, that link is down in the description to get to that book. I think Amazon, if you have an Amazon Prime account, it will be free for an Audible book. And guys, I just think that this is valuable information, so you should take a look. As always, if you like the video, smash that like button. It helps out tremendously. And if you like the content, because I'm going to keep the content flowing, subscribe to the channel. As always, have a good day.